This semester sucked. It felt like after a desperate 2-year struggle to become the king of productivity and advertising all my new lifestyle habits on YouTube. After all the Matt Diavella, Thomas Frank, and Josh Chen videos I've binged, I still degenerated into a total waste man. I felt a lot of things this semester, and most of them were negative. It felt like my life was falling off the rails in almost every single aspect, and I needed a way to deal with all of it. That's when I was introduced to the idea of solo camping. I love my friends, and I love my family. And I've only ever gone camping with them because my old philosophy was that anywhere is the right place as long as it's with the right people. But quarantine has let me appreciate my alone time a whole lot more, and I heard that the outdoors is also different when you're alone. The food you eat, the things you see, the time you spend thinking about life is all approached from a whole different angle, and it's a way to appreciate loneliness. That's what intrigued me. Given a little push, I planned for a trip over Easter weekend, which was less than 3 days of when I had the idea. For the first time in a year, I felt genuinely excited. It was thrilling to have something to plan for, something to look forward to. Checklists needed to be made and items needed to be gathered. I finally had a goal. It was something to do other than procrastinating. It gave me an excuse to go out and buy things, and I realized I lost all my social skills over quarantine the second I reached the cashier. When the packing was done, things didn't stop there. This instance marked the first time this semester I had something to look forward to. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it was actually the only time this semester I was motivated to study. I wanted to enjoy myself and finally forget about the upcoming finals. This was my first time going on a solo trip outside the city ever. My parents were scared, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a bit anxious either, even for a front country trip. Quick facts! Front country camping is when you go on a trip with services and facilities, like washrooms with running water, RV sites, and designated fire pits, while backcountry is for people who aren't big babies. The receptionist was very nice and gave me a campsite with 4 free packs of logs already on site, probably from the last camper. I found an abandoned knife too, but since he left me so much firewood, I turned it in and hope he got his knife back. On my way to the site, I met one of my kind. This was the first time setting up a tent by myself. First time cutting wood by myself. It rained and I slept in my tent for 2 hours right after this. First time making fire by myself. I cheated and used the fire starter. First time making food outside. It was hot pot, and I should have brought more spices and maybe a cutting board. The mushrooms were a little undercooked and there was way too many of them. The apple cider was great though, and it's almost impossible to go wrong with that. Every trip has a highlight, and for me, it was the sunset. The scenery across the lake took my breath away. If you take a look at the clouds, you can actually see how fast the winds are blowing. Heading back up to the campsite, I prepared for the last thing of the day: sleeping. Because I was alone on the campsite, I kept my hatchet, my knife, and the bear spray right next to me. As soon as I got into the sleeping bag, I could hear the wolves howling and the sound of teenagers playing in the parking lot all the way until 2 a.m. From the videos I've seen, I believe it's a universal experience that campers will never get enough sleep on their first night out. The entire world was frozen solid. It felt like if I swung a pickaxe at the ground, it would shatter into a million pieces. Instead of the usual morning dew, I had ice growing on the top of my tent. After preparing some firewood for breakfast, I went back down to the lake to see the morning view. It wasn't as pretty as the sunset. Starting the fire and bringing the water to a boil was just as easy as yesterday, except this time was the most excited I've been to have a cup of instant noodles. Because of the horrible sleeping experience, I was too eager to pack things up and go home. But as I was leaving, I couldn't help but stop and look around and think, I did this all by myself. All the planning, all the preparing, and all the execution, I didn't need anyone to help me, and I had fun doing it. As tiresome as it was, this experience sparked a new love for the outdoors inside of me. I knew for a fact that I wanted to go camping more this summer. And I think the most valuable thing that this trip gave me was something to look forward to.